Have you been considering putting together and maybe building a team, working on some sort of partnership or collaboration? If so, then this episode, it's for you. Today, I sit down with Susan Seath out of Connecticut, who's a partner in the KMS team. What is absolutely fascinating about their structure is it's an 8-person partnership. You heard that right. It's a partnership. Stay tuned because she's going to unpack how it actually works and functions. As always, if you find value in content like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. And as always, I'm your referral partner out of San Francisco, Shawn Kunkler. As most people who've listened now know, I'm from Connecticut, and I was actually trying to find somebody to connect in Connecticut, and I stumbled across your name. And then in our conversation, we talked about your team, and as you were sharing, I was blown away at the team structure. And then I was like, let's just put a pin in this. I'm going to have you on the show and we're going to unpack it. So here we are. So thanks for doing this. I genuinely, I appreciate that.
It's fun to talk about it because it is quite unique.
It's so unique. So to give people some context, you're a member of an 8-person team, which is pretty big. And here's the asterisk, is every single person is an equal partner.
There's nothing else out there like us with this many agents. We literally all are equal partners. And it's been like that since the beginning, which started out, if you want me to give you a little bit of history, 1999 started with Sheila Keenan, Lori Morris, Wade Chabelle, and that's how it got KMS. And back then, teams and partnerships were very, very rare. This was like a very unique situation. And the three of them created a partnership, and it worked. And then they built onto that. They hired Karen Scott, and then I came on in 2005. And then from there, we've just added people. And, along the years, there have been a couple of people who, haven't worked out. But I will tell you that the 8 of us, there are actually 10 of us now, 2 junior agents. They are not, quote, partners. But the 8 of us get along so well. We just gel. We're all similar in how we do our businesses, because it's little businesses, right, within the team. And it has to be a certain personality, for us to ask someone, to be a part of us. But yeah, it's 8 equals.
That's astonishing. I mean, it's for a lot of agents, and I'm sure most of us at some point have considered bringing on a partner and what that looks like. And that's just one person, let alone doing that multiple times for many, many years. So to kind of rewind a little bit, you started in the business in 2005?
I started in 2005, joined KMS. And I was not, a partner when I first joined. It was like a trial kind of basis. And then when I made a certain amount of money, they said, you're now a partner. And at that point, because there were only a few of us, we were actually sharing our commissions, not completely equally, but we would share them. So it would go into a pot, and then whatever you closed, it would go into a pot, and then we'd each get a percentage of that. When we started to get bigger, it just didn't work anymore. It just didn't work for us to share commissions because some people started to make more than others, and it wasn't looking like it was going to really be fair. So we basically eat what we kill now. But we do have team listings. So if someone comes to the team, they're not one specific partner, we share in that, and we take sort of turns who's going to be the lead on it. If the lead would get a little bit more money on it, but the others would help along, but we basically would share in that. And the other thing we do is we share our expenses. So our marketing, our advertising, our assistant is all equally shared.
It's a very interesting way that it's currently structured, where, to your point, if somebody is just having a phenomenal year, they actually get to reap the benefits for that, which absolutely makes sense. So it sounds like, honestly, you got really lucky in receiving your mentorship right out of the gate with this amazing group of people.
I really, really, really feel blessed. Like having been on a team my entire career, I can't imagine going into this and doing this alone. Like I don't know what that looks like. I just don't. We're all so supportive of each other. We meet every Monday at 11 for a couple hours. We have a team manager / assistant, and she takes notes and she keeps us in check and tells us what we need to do, what we haven't done. She does our newsletter. She handles our website. She's amazing. And when we have to make decisions about our budget or where we're going to put our marketing money and everything, it's a group decision. I mean, it really is. We don't always all agree because that probably wouldn't be possible on everything. But for the most part, we really do. And we just know that, it really comes down to if the majority thinks it should be one way, then that's the way it goes. So the decisions, believe it or not, even though there are 8 of us, aren't that difficult. Because we're all alike, because we all want the same thing, it's usually pretty easy to get things done. So I know it sounds crazy, but it just somehow works.
It's funny. It sounds crazy on one hand, and on the other side, it seems completely logical in a very strange way. And having, I mean, obviously you're all very powerful in your own right. And so I would imagine you do all have to be very collaborative and kind of like check your ego at the door and have just open communication and just approach it in a very different way. And I love that you, for your real estate career, grew up in that community. Because it sounds like it really helped shape you. And it's funny, just prior to recording, I asked you if you were able to rewind and go back 2 decades to year 1 and give yourself a piece of advice, or what would you change or do differently? You were like, nothing. I would keep it exactly the way it is, which I've never, ever, ever had anybody say that, which is incredible.
I really feel very fortunate. I think we all do. We all feel that way. We all feel lucky to have each other. It's kind of brilliant because there's so much support for each other. Like my phone, dings all day long with, did anyone, like, in fact, this morning I said, did anyone see, Cedar Hills yesterday? What do you think of the price? And everyone will chime in. Who's available to help with a public open house this weekend? So we talk multiple times a day, even if it's not face to face and if it's not on the phone. We're always in contact with each other. We can go away and know that there's going to be someone there to cover. That's brilliant because there's always someone that's going to jump in to help. It just goes on. And the fact that we don't all live in the same town. We all have different spheres. We all came from different backgrounds. So we all have things that we can bring to the table that, maybe someone else can't. So between all of us, I feel like we've kind of seen it all at this point, which is great when you're stuck with, a problem, whatever. Has anyone run into this before? And usually someone will say, oh yeah, that happened a couple of years ago or whatever. So, it really is, it's fun. We go out, for everyone's birthday, we go out for happy hour and celebrate. We do, at Christmas, instead of doing like our normal, like holiday dinner, we actually did a wine tasting, which was fun. So we do have fun together too, which is great.
That is amazing. It sounds like it's almost like you have a local mastermind group within your business that you can just lean into literally at any point, and it's not competitive, but it's collaborative. Somebody's always willing to just jump in and help you. Super cool.
I like that. Our own mastermind group. No, it's true. And even like when we have to price a listing, things have gotten a little crazy, with pricing. And so, we'll have a few of us, I'll ask a few people to come to a listing and, help price it. And, that's what we do for each other.
When it originated, when it was originally the core three KMS, did somebody have a law background? Because I feel like this is structured a little bit like a law firm.
At one point, we were an LLC, and I think we still technically are because we do have to file like taxes for KMS.
Yeah.
We have K1s, and then the partnership has to file taxes. So none of the agents were lawyers, but I think he was the one that helped set it up. So Sheila has now has been retired for many years. She's in her 80s, and Wade Chevelle, who was the S in KMS, he actually left the team before I came on, so I never really knew him. He moved down to Florida to do something else, real estate related down there, and unfortunately has passed away. But Lori Morris is still with us, and she was really the one that was my true mentor. We had a mutual friend in common, and when I told him I was thinking about going into real estate, he's actually a real estate attorney. He said, "You got to talk to Lori and KMS." So that's how that happened. So Lori is still with us, and we call her our mom and our matriarch, and she is amazing. She's still working. I mean, she's not working as hard as we all are, but she shouldn't be, right? I mean, we're always like, Lori, like you're supposed to like sort of be retiring now, like, do that with your grandkids and go on a trip. But she's a wealth of knowledge. It's great. We love her, and she's a joy to be around.
She sounds it. I mean, I can only imagine just how many years of experience that she has. And also it sounds like she, in that group, that core group, such forward thinkers. Like this whole phenomenon of teams it's relatively new for this industry. Like it was kind of peppered throughout, but like really trailblazers for that period, for that time frame.
Totally ahead of their time. And I will tell you that, we've been at Compass 5 years. And before that, our previous brokerage did not really embrace teams.
Mm.
And so that was one of the things that really was driving us to come to Compass, among many other things. But the fact that they really do embrace teams, I mean, and their platform is set up for it. It's been great for us, for sure.
I'm really curious, and we don't have to like fan club Compass or anything, but I'm really curious of that meeting. How easy or hard was it for 8 people to make that collective decision to change brokerages? I know for an individual to change brokerages, it's a big decision. And then there's always a lot of logistics and heavy lifting to migrate and move. And so again, you're multiplying that by 8 very strong individuals. Just how was that? Was it a hard decision or kind of an easy?
It was so out of left field because none of us had even heard of Compass. And one of the team members, Kim Harrisman, knew someone that worked at Compass, and somehow they got to Kim, and then she's like, they really want us, KMS, to open up the Westport office. And we were like, what? Like, we're the number one team where we are and have been in the whole region and have been for, within the company. I'm not going to mention brokerages, but, we had like a pretty high standing, and we were like, what? Like, why are we going to go there? There's no office. There's no, like, we didn't know, but we went into New York and met with Robert and a bunch of people, and we were blown away. I mean, we were just blown away by the technology, the collaborativeness, the culture. Like we were, wow. And what's really interesting is that Lori, she was the one that said, this is the future. So, you talk about how she was, ahead of her time back then. She was really the one that was saying, you really need to do this. You need to do this. So I will say that we all pretty much got on board right away. There were a couple of people that were a little like lagging, but then we all got there and we just said, we're doing this.
Incredible. Lori really sounds like a powerful lady for starters, but it sounds like she's a visionary in her own right.
Totally.
I'm curious, do you know offhand how long she was in the real estate business?
So before KMF, I mean, she's got to be in it. I mean, she was in it maybe 10 years before that. I mean, she's been in it a long time.
I mean, the current market we're currently in, she's probably like, been there, done that.
That's what's so great about Lori. And she also is like the voice of calm. She doesn't get upset. Like she's just very rational. She's just, I think because she has seen it all.
So Sally Stahl was the managing broker when I basically really was developing my career. And Sally seems very similar to Lori, where she was very even, saw everything, had experience in it. But I always really appreciated, she always gave me very concise and succinct answers, but then said, like, here's one way you can approach it. Here's the potential outcome. Here's another way you can approach it. Here's another outcome. What are your thoughts? And then I would give her my thoughts and she'd be like, okay, but have you thought about this or considered this? And she wouldn't just tell you the answer, but she would challenge you to figure it out with her. And I always really genuinely appreciated that. But has since retired. And so I deeply miss her. And I wish I had my Lori still available to guide me.
One of the first things she told me, and I still say this all the time, is that she said, you're not an attorney, don't try to be one. You're not a mortgage broker, don't try to be one. And I was like, okay. And you know what? That stuck with me, right? Like, because sometimes, you want to talk about contracts and you know what? No, I'm not the attorney. And we need attorney, like you have to have an attorney in Connecticut to close. So, she just always had pearls of wisdom.
That's amazing because Sally would tell me that all the time. You are a real estate agent. You are not an attorney. Do not interpret the contract. You're not an inspector. Don't interpret it. Don't blah, blah. And she would just always, like, I would run in and be like, hey, I have a question. How do I approach this? Well, you're not this. Go find that person or guide your clients to that person. It's having somebody who knows the road ahead that's the game changer. And having people, again, you have like this really cool mastermind because somebody in the group is inevitably going to have had that experience or a similar experience and can guide anybody through it, which it's a really unique and powerful tool. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Patagonia, the founder, what was his name? Yvon Chouinard. When he designed Patagonia, it's a huge company, but it's flat management. Similar to you. So like people aren't partners per se, but it's flat. There's no hierarchy.
Very unique.
Very unique. And it's funny, I watched an interview with him and they were talking, another company owner was like, well, how would you introduce this to my company? He's like, you can't. You either build it from the beginning like that or you don't have it because it's hard for people to recalibrate. And it sounds like you had this very serendipitous experience of being able to literally start in this. And so didn't have any preconceived notions of how it's supposed to be. And it was the way it was supposed to be for you right out of the gate. It was super cool. And I'm a little jealous, to be honest.
So I'm 61, and I would say the youngest partner is maybe not quite 60. And then we have Lori and David, who are in their 70s. So we're all seasoned agents. We've been doing this a long time, but we are now thinking about the future. And like Lori and Sheila did by bringing me and Karen on, we were younger. We have 2 junior agents that are with us now who are fabulous. One of them was an agent in Brooklyn who moved to Westport. And so she's come on with us. And then another agent was already in our office, but we all just really liked her. And we just thought she'd fit in with us really well. So she has joined us. So they're not, partners, but, we try to mentor them, and they, help us out with things when they can. And, it's a way for us to keep KMS, growing. I don't think we're going to add anyone else for a while, because we're really, in our meetings now we're 10, assuming everyone's there, plus Kathy, our assistant manager. But, it's important, I think. Like Lori is actually another thing, she's saying, you guys have to think about the future, because you're not going to work forever, and you're all kind of at the same age. So, bringing in the younger people is, makes sense.
It sounds like you would have to bring the younger generation in, which gives you all permission to retire out when that time comes at some point.
Yeah. I mean, I don't intend to retire anytime soon, but, someday it will happen. So we're cognizant of that also.
And that's the beauty of our business is as we evolve, we get to cherry pick the projects, and we have the amazing beauty of referrals. So we can pick our level of activity within it and just kind of become a hub. But I also find it really unique too, within the way that you all organized, is you all live in different areas. So thus you essentially specialize in different areas.
We do, but at the same time, our towns are close to each other, right? So I live in Fairfield. I'm in the Fairfield office right now, which happens to be right around the corner from my house. But my team works out of the Westport office, which is literally 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes down the road, not even. When I moved out of the city, I lived in Westport and then ended up living in Weston. And that's where my kids went through school. And now I live in Fairfield. So I've lived in 3 of the towns that I service. Michael lived in Westport. He now lives in Fairfield. Karen lived in Weston. She's in Fairfield. David lives in Weston. Karen and Mary Ellen live in Westport. So we get the towns that we live in. We also don't try to sell towns that are outside of our kind of little area, if you will. We all kind of believe that, it's just too hard it's not fair to the client, right? To try to sell a town that you don't know enough about and all the ins and outs. So we do like to refer, to agents, even if that town is, 20 minutes from here. It's just, they're different markets.
Completely. Yeah, they're different markets. There's different nuances to the towns. And I know from San Francisco to East Bay, there's different compliances. There's different aspects of the transaction. And if you're not savvy, to your point, you're just not doing your clients the full service.
And, when you're servicing a certain market, you tend to, sometimes get the insider information of things that are coming on. And, and I wouldn't get that. I have a new buyer client now that has asked to look at a couple of listings in a town that I don't normally work in. And I was very honest. I said, look, if you think that you really want to do a deep dive into this town, I probably am going to refer you to a different agent. If it's a one-off here and there, that's different. But that's how I feel. I have to do what's best for the client.
I'm on the same page. Like if somebody's just if they're at the point where they're exploring, they're trying to figure out, hey, do I want to be here? Do I want to be here? I'm totally fine supporting you and kind of pointing you in the right direction. But if it shifts and they're like, I really want to buy in Marin, though it's just over the Golden Gate Bridge, it's a completely different market. And to your point, I don't have that intel. I don't have my finger on the pulse. I can't tell you what's coming up next week that's not yet on the MLS because it's just not my area of expertise. And that's same thing. That's when I'll pick up the phone and be like, hey, I'd love to refer this out because I'm just not that person for that area. But if they're wanting San Francisco, I'll tell you what's going on in every single one of the neighborhoods, hands down.
Right. And that makes sense. Although I have to say that, with such reduced inventory in all these towns around us, we are seeing a lot of agents coming from towns that they don't normally come from. You know what I mean? They're just because their clients are like, we can't find a house, so we're here, we're there, and they're trying to do it all. And I get it. You don't want to lose a sale, but at some point you have to say, is this fair? We used to always say, like, kind of even like, I guess pre-COVID, whatever, that like we used to love when out of town agents were selling our listings because they didn't always get the pricing and we would sometimes get more money because of that. So, it's right. Like you don't know exactly what the nuance is. And that's, you get a premium on that street, but not on that street and whatever. So
on the flip side, when they're listing the property, like there's certain etiquettes of it. Typically in the city, all your inspections are done up front before you come to market. Whereas a listing agent who's from out of town may not know that and then leave it open, which then means we can write all the contingencies in. And now we have incredible leverage after the fact to renegotiate all the prices. But they don't know that, which is that's a small nuance. And the seller has no idea. And so just virtue of it's baking in that disservice. So yeah, part of me, it's a love-hate when somebody who's just completely out of the market.
But that's what makes us, that's why, like, we all really feel that way, and you need to know what you're selling. And that's the bottom line.
And that goes back to, if you're really the expert in that area, you have all of these little pieces of intel. You figure these pieces out, and then you can convey that, more importantly, to your client and say, here's an opportunity and here's why. Or like, this is what I'm seeing and this is the feedback. But post-COVID, and more specifically to 2024, we've actually seen kind of in the outskirts, big uptick of out-of-town listing agents. And I think just because people have been in a scarcity mindset, we just haven't done as many deals, that they're doing them everywhere and they're spreading, everybody's getting spread thin.
Yeah. They don't want to give it up. They don't want to give up a sale.
I think when we all approach it from a place of abundance and not scarcity, we ultimately do a better job for our clients. We actually are being a fiduciary, which is, that's the core of it.
Agree.
To kind of roll back to your team, because I'm so curious still about that. Do you find, it sounds like Lori is, again, the matriarch in your words. Do you find that within the eight people, that because of experiences or past careers or just the differences of us being human, that people tend to take lead on different parts, or is it very equal across the board?
So at one point, we did sort of ask Lori to be our spokesperson, when we needed to negotiate our Compass contract or At one point, we had to go through a name change. Originally, it was KMS Partners, and state of Connecticut had this whole big thing that, like, is that a law firm? What is that? Like, they wanted everyone to be on the same playing field. So you had to, we had to change it to team. It had to be something team. So we made it KMS Team at Compass. But when we were going through that whole dialogue, she kind of took charge of that. And, like I said, she's sort of our spokesperson. At one point, we used to have like tasks, and we still sort of do. Like, I'm kind of the liaison to one of the online newspapers that we do some promotion for. Like, I speak to him about our stuff. David is the liaison to the Weston Historical Society. So Mary Ellen was doing Wakeman Town Farm. So we do chop it up, and divide and conquer. But like, and Michael is a very, very creative guy. He was in the clothing design industry. He worked for Tommy Hilfiger for a long time. He's just got a really good eye for color and design. So like when we were changing our logo colors, we kind of put him in charge of that. Not to make the decision, but basically to, be the liaison to marketing for that. So we do divide up tasks, and we try to, because Michael was really good in design and he's got the eye for color, it was natural for him to do that. With Lori's experience, it was natural for her to be our spokesperson for when, we had to renegotiate stuff or whatever. So yes, we do sort of divide and conquer.
I even like the nuance of the words that you're using, of using the word liaison, because it does paint a very different picture within the group, in the group organization. Because I would imagine it would be a little chaotic if there's 8 people giving design directions for a logo all simultaneously without having the liaison kind of corralling everything.
It does. And then, like, if we do get a KMS team lead on something, obviously that person doesn't have to talk to all 8 of us. That person's going to talk to one. As I said, we take turns being the lead on it, because who wants to have to deal with 8 people? So there's always usually one point person for each box of, whatever we're doing at that time. We do a lot of sponsorships for our organizations around town. And again, one of us will take that on. Karen right now is the liaison to, there's a blog 06880, which is Westport zip code. And we're going to start partnering with him to do more stuff. So Karen is the liaison to that because her son played soccer with him. He was like an assistant coach at one point. So where it makes sense, we push people and pull people in and out of those jobs.
Absolutely makes sense. I mean, it makes sense logistically, and it makes sense with time, because you all have your other activities, the high priority activities, which is the client, and then you have these additional activities. It's interesting, again, the way even your vocabulary around it is very different than the traditional one person is like the name of the team is that individual, and then all roads stop at them. When I actually was structuring my team, similar to you, we have the California compliancy, and you can't use certain words, and you have to register it and do all this stuff. But we went with Homeward Associates, and I strategically did not want to use my name. And so it created a whole bunch of extra paperwork, but I wanted it to be a place where it's more flat, where it's not all these people are building just my name, but they're able to build their own name within the business.
Well, we weren't going to change KMS because even though the K and the S aren't really there anymore, it was so branded that there was no way we were going to, everyone knew who KMS was. You know what I mean? We weren't going to change that piece of it. We just couldn't. So we figured out a way to keep it, but we had to be a team instead of a partnership. So it's fine. It's fine. But I remember when I first joined the partnership, I got the task of keeping the finances because there were only a few of us. So I was in charge of the checkbook because I did have a finance marketing background in college, and some of my previous jobs, entailed finance. So I got that task, and I would say that was not fun. It really was not. And then eventually when we started to get bigger, we hired a bookkeeper. So I'm sort of the liaison to the bookkeeper, but I don't have to deal with, paying bills and keeping track of stuff. She does all of that for us. So it's good.
Yeah. I would have to say having a bookkeeper and an accountant, oh my goodness, it's a game changer. Especially I'm not wired for that. And so it's get it off my plate as quickly as possible.
It just became too much to keep track of. And I want to sell. I want to be out with my clients. I don't want to be bogged down with like tracking down checks, and because we all contribute equally to our KMS fund. And so, the bookkeeper will call me and say, I need a deposit from everyone by, the next Friday. So I didn't want to be the one tracking it all down anymore. You want to concentrate on what the job is, and that's to service your clients, be a real estate agent, not a money manager.
It's smart. I mean, as with any business, it's figure out what the actual income producing tasks are, allocate those to your sales team, and then take everything off of them and then put those into the correct categories, departments, and then hire for those. And especially if it's your weakness, get that off your plate and give it to somebody else who it's their strength and they can run with it. But it sounds like really genuinely just hearing you chat and just talk about the different team members and the way it all works and jives and gels together. It really sounds like everybody's done an amazing job of putting their egos aside and really coming together to collaborate. And it's so unique, and it sounds like you have such a special thing happening. It's very cool. And I'm honored that you shared with everybody, because I hope somebody was able to glean and pick something up from all of that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, it is very unique, and we literally we always hear we've never seen anything like that.
No, I mean, I talk to literally agents every single week on this podcast and never remotely have come close to finding anything similar to this. And if I do, I will call you and make that introduction.
I'd love to know. And we have fun together, which is even better. We really do. I mean, one of the retreats we went, there were, I think only 4 of us went, or 5, maybe there were 5 of us there in Atlanta. And I swear we had the best time just hanging out with each other. I mean, the dinner, we just had so much fun together. It's so much fun. Which, I feel very blessed.
And, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're feeling that way and then you're leaving those moments and you're going to hang out with a client, your client feels that. And that's part of the entire experience that we're all going after, is how do we really just elevate the experience for our clients? Susan, this was absolutely amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with you. And I feel like a whole nother level of inspiration by all that your team has worked on and put together. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. It was really fun chatting with you, and I learned a little bit more about your business too, which is great. And as I said, I've already got you down on my referral list if I need someone in your part of the country. And you were very clear about your what you like to do. And again, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I think clarity is power, and and as you know, when we're making those connections, the client really comes first, and matching those personalities is important. But then knowing that agent who's working with them is very clear with where their expertise lie. So same with you. I genuinely appreciate learning the parameters in that area you all focus on.
Well, thank you again. It was really fun and a great way to start the weekend.
Perfect. Well, enjoy your weekend.
All right. Well, thank you. You too.